Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and now that I've had a few hours to play with the new HELLFIRE GALA X-Men Mutant update, I want to give you my first impressions on the 3 new uniforms that we got for Betsy Braddock, Colossus, and Mr. Sinister and their transcended skills. And I gotta start off by saying, holy crap, did the devs do a gorgeous job visually with Betsy. I gotta say, pretty much all 3 of these characters, for what it's worth, are absolutely drop dead gorgeous as in-game models and have some very cool, pretty unique looking skills. That being said, I do think their value is going to depend heavily on what you're looking for in a character. We are just weeks out from a very meta-shifting update where we saw Spider-Man basically take over the game, and he is still in control in both PvE and PvP. Also, we saw Kingpin knock off the incumbent Apocalypse, who had been dominating ABX as a combat villain for 2 years. That's not really going well. I think that's not really going to be the case with this update. Now, this is a mid-month update, not a full update, but from what I've seen so far, none of these characters is going to be, or is going to, be transformed with their uniforms and their transcendences into a 10 out of 10. So I think that's really where a lot of people are going to hesitate with this update, and I think that's really where some people are going to jump to the conclusion that this update is a skip or that the resources are better spent elsewhere. That being said, we've waited 11 months or thereabouts to get another mutant update, so although my resources are looking pretty slim now because I went ahead and, burned them all, we were basically capped on mutant materials for months. There's other things to spend them on, sure, but I'm just trying to sort of set the stage here because I do think all 3 of these characters are better. I do think all 3 of these uniforms are worth purchasing in specific circumstances, but I do want to highlight, I say sometimes must buy. I don't think any of these uniforms are must buys, and I think some people will then jump to the conclusion, well, okay, if it's not a must buy, then it's garbage. And I really don't want that to be the message either, because I don't think any of these uniforms are garbage. I mean, first of all, like aesthetically, top 5 is just like beyond gorgeous. Beyond gorgeous. This is straight out of the comics and it's mental. And not everybody plays for the meta, man. Not everybody plays to just get the highest score or whatever. Some people are playing for the looks, fashion souls type thing, and this update genuinely and definitely delivers on that. Okay, so I've sort of waffled on enough on what you're not going to be expecting from these uniforms and these characters. They're not going to make your eyes pop out of their sockets in terms of their production. Maybe aesthetically they will, but not in terms of the production. So what can you expect? In my opinion, Captain Britain, aka Betsy Braddock, aka the old, not Psylocke anymore Psylocke, is going to be the best or the clear winner out of these 3 for PvE, although I still think she's going to be overshadowed by the massive shadow that Spider-Man has laid on the game. Because every new character that's coming out that's transcended or tier 3, especially if they're a speed type, but okay, they're just gonna look and be like, are they better than Spidey? No? Okay, well, he's the 800 CCF tier 3 that I need. And fair enough. But she's very, very good. She's much, much better now. Although the one thing that Betsy sort of lost is somewhat of a proc-friendly rotation. I think that's really the only thing that she's lost. She seems best now with a CTP of Judgment, or alternatively with a CTP of Rage, because she does have that really nice 30% guaranteed crit rate. But basically you have a situation where her 3rd skill is her heal, but the heal only triggers midway through the skill and actually triggers twice. So if you cancel the 3 right away just to get the buffs into the 4 and then cancel that into the 5, that would be your proc rotation. 3 cancel 4, delayed cancel 5. But that rotation is not consistent because sometimes the 4 hits at the beginning will trigger your rotation, and it's also not giving you the most value because you're canceling out of Betsy's heal entirely. Now, alternatively, you could just do 4, delayed cancel 5, and then when that's done playing out, you could then go into the 3. Not as much damage because the 3 has buffs that have a very short cooldown. As you can see, the buffs are about to disappear, and then they won't be up ready for her next rotation. So yeah, I think she sort of lost the ability to be very good or very consistent with a double mind damage obelisk or a CTP of energy. That's obviously going to leave a sour taste in some people's mouths. But on the other hand, I do think that she's amazing, very good with a CTP of Judgment or a CTP, possibly a CTP of Rage. I haven't tested yet. But just for, some sort of metric here. I will have a dedicated video for her in the future, don't worry. But I was able to clear the first phase of stage 40, I believe, with her on a team here. I haven't set up, I thought I had set up the team. But yeah, I cleared stage 40 or 41 with her using White Fox and Wave. The team is actually just right there. Oh, okay. Well, the team is just, it was just right here, like that. And I was able to clear the first phase in about just under 90 seconds, something like that. So yeah, she can definitely push higher than most other characters. Again, not going to be able to compete with Spider-Man, but she's competing somewhat with someone like Shang-Chi, who, you know, maybe a little bit stronger than Captain Britain, but has a much more difficult rotation and also has access to the full White Fox buffs that Captain Britain doesn't have. So I think in terms of raw damage, she actually might be very similar to some of the best Transcended characters and some of the best tier 3s that we have for, you know, end game World Boss Legend content. And apparently she can also one-shot Danger Room Extreme. However, does that make her the best blast hero in the game, or the best blast type in the game? I don't know. She's got stiff competition there from Mephisto, from Moonstone, from Sharon Rogers, of course. So yeah, I'm not sure she's gonna stand up to those three. Maybe she'll beat Mephisto. I don't know, but I do think she's gonna be very, very good for PvE. Mr. Sinister, on the other hand, interesting. It's his very first uniform, and he does seem very heavily skewed to PvP. I will say that I was very unimpressed with his PvE performance, but his PvP performance does seem to be there. But I do think it's going to come at a price, and I do think you're going to have a heavy investment into Mr. Sinister. So I would say, you know, sort of asterisk if you're looking for an off-meta PvP character, if you're looking for someone to take down some of the combat heroes that have made their mark in PvP recently, then Mr. Sinister might be a really nice counter. I wasn't able to try yet, or I didn't see if his Hellion Chalice actually duplicates the enemy exactly. I actually could try that out right now, but actually he's not bad. It's tough without giving characters a full build. Nowadays it's very tough to feature characters in a big way in PvP and to really show their value. I don't think Mr. Sinister or Colossus are really going to change the landscape of PvP. Again, I think Spider-Man sort of did that, and now we're just picking up the pieces. But on the other side, on the other hand, I do think that Colossus could be, with enough investment, that's kind of the asterisk here, with enough investment, I do think he could be a counter to Spider-Man. He's extremely tanky, as you will see, and he's just missing a heal. Unfortunately, his heal is from his artifact, and I wish the devs would have reconsidered and built him differently based on that and sort of given him the heal. He should have gotten a passive heal, in my opinion. But here he did pretty poorly, to be honest. But I've seen him kill quite a few Like, he kills Spider-Man more than half the... Literally the worst possible showing for these characters. I don't know what to say. I did a whole bunch of tests on, and sort of auto tests here on the stream, and people can vouch for it in the comments. Mr. Sinister was holding his own against Wolverine, surprisingly. Again, not winning, but holding his own. And Colossus was actually killing Spider-Man most of the time. The combination of the damage reduction, the fact that he's no longer a villain, Colossus with this new uniform, he's not a villain anymore, so he won't get punished by villain damage from something like, you know, Spider-Man's passive, and he has that reflect as well. So those three things in combination, the huge damage reduction, being a hero to dodge the bad, you know, passives, and then having that physical reflect to punish, especially Spider-Man's 5th skill. He basically one-shots himself on Colossus when he pops that 5th skill. So let's try this one more time here so you guys can get a glimpse of what I'm saying. But yeah, it's really that situation where you're going to need a very heavy investment to make these characters work. I do think they can work. I don't know if they're going to be able to replace the incumbents. Like, I don't know if Colossus is going to be a replacement for Wolverine, because obviously Wolverine, see, there you go. Wolverine is a great counter for Spider-Man. So is Gilgamesh. Not sure if Colossus is going to be able to do a replacement job there. Look at this. Right? Not playing here. This is on auto. Doesn't have iframe ignore, but he does have an artifact that gives him immortality. If my Sinister had the immortality artifact, he would have actually killed that Wolverine who had the immortality artifact. So yeah, it's different. This is definitely one of the more difficult updates to really pin down the value for. I do think this is going to be value that's measured with you know, a microscope or a finer tooth comb than just the blatantly obvious knock you over the head, like, this is the best unit, this is the best tier 3 in the game. Like, it's not going to be that obvious. And generally speaking, this channel focuses more on the PvE side of the game, you know, Shadowland, World Boss Ultimate, World Boss Legend, ABX, GBR, and I don't focus very much on the PvP side of things, and I basically completely ignore Conquest. But yeah, I do think Colossus and Mr. Sinister are both going to be fantastic for Conquest. It's looking like that. And again, this is them doing that without having iframe ignore. Imagine if they had iframe ignore. I do encourage the devs. I think Mr. Sinister and Colossus are still missing just a little bit, but Colossus has a huge HP pool. Look at this, over 100,000 HP without anything on the obelisk. So if you give this man a regen, you could even give him, actually you can't give him the egg. You could actually give Mr. Sinister the egg, funny enough. I'm not saying you should give him a refinement, but he has guard break immunity on his uniform. He does have guard break immunity. So yeah, it's kind of hilarious. I'm not going to give you guys CTP recommendations just yet for any of these characters, besides maybe Betsy. But yeah, that's kind of how I see this update shaking out. I do think that it's going to be overshadowed by Spider-Man No Way Home and whatever's coming in 2 weeks, because you can see the Future Pass here has 15 days. So that's about when we should see the next update, whether it's going to be No Way Home Part 2 with Dr. Octopus, Green Goblin, etc., or whether it's going to be Hellfire Gala Round 2. I have no idea. But I do think all 3 of these characters are good. I just think they're going to need a lot of love. We sometimes get updates where characters are just OP and obviously busted, no build, and they're just going to roll through the content, lol. And then you get other updates where the characters need a little bit more TLC. And you got to build them up more. You got to really invest in them to get that payoff. This is one of those updates. It's not for everybody, but, you know, I was kind of hoping that we would get sort of, you know, obvious, like clearly busted X-Men. The last one we had wasn't that long ago, Wolverine, but, you know, and then Rogue before that. But yeah, it is what it is. I do think, you know, again, I'm not trying to complain here, but I do think the devs could give Mr. Sinister and Colossus a little bit more. You know, if each one of them had an iframe ignore skill, or if Colossus had a heal and Sinister had an iframe ignore skill, just something, just a little bit more of something, I think would make these a bit more of a surefire bet. But at the moment, it's definitely more, you know, situational, and that makes it tougher to review. I mean, I'll do full reviews on them, but it makes it tougher to explain and sort of figure out whether they're worthwhile or not. But as it goes in PvP nowadays, you almost always need the artifact for these newer characters. And Spider-Man is actually no different. You sort of do need his artifact for him to be quite good, like consistently good in PvP. He can pop off now and then without it, but the artifact definitely makes a big difference for PvP and keeps him consistently good at taking down targets like Doom. So yeah, that's kind of how I feel about this update. I like it. I do think it could have been better. But on the other hand, maybe we had better characters, and then the, you know, aesthetically and the look of the characters suffered because of that. And I don't know if I'd be happier, or if I would be basically just complaining in reverse, being like, man, these characters perform really well, but they look kind of shoddy. You know, like he doesn't look shoddy, but you kind of get what I'm saying. It's hard to find shoddy looking characters in MFF, but it happens from time to time. We didn't get that in this case. So yeah, hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know what you think of this update. Thank you so much for watching. I got absolutely rinsed on artifacts and artifact pulling. If you were there, you know. Thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.